Welcome to Authors Speak. I'm Linda Mall, founder of Accountability by Design, igniting conversations that matter, and Readers of the Pack, a community for leaders who are readers. A warm welcome to the leaders who have joined us online today. And we invite you to save your questions for the end of our conversation with Lori-Ann. And we will allow at least 15 minutes for your time to invite conversation. If you would prefer, you can put them in the chat, and Laura or I will share them with everyone. And speaking of Laura, meet my co-pilot, Laura Haynes, chief cheerleader, emerging leader mentor, and my co-host on this series. We will be recording this session and sharing all the contact information for Lori-Ann, including links to our author's website, etc., with you within the next few days. The recording will be available on our website late next week. If you want different results, you need to ignite change at the level where results are created in the first place. Please welcome Lori-Ann, author of One Gear, No Breaks.
Hello.
And we're going to start. I'm just hitting a button here. We're going to start the conversation right now. As I really, so I'm a fan. I will share that right off the bat. I've read Lori-Ann's book from cover to cover. I've marked it up. I've put stuff on my whiteboard that I want to remember that are inspiring for me. And so I'm pretty excited about the conversation today. And so, Lori-Ann, the first edition of this book, One Gear, No Breaks, came out in 2006. The second in 2008. Then in 2011, the Key Porter went bankrupt. And on August 24th, 2024, 20th anniversary of your Olympic gold medal win, you relaunched your book.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it important to tell your story back in 2006 with the first edition, and again this year with the third edition? Tenacious at best. Yeah.
Oh, great question, Linda. It was quite the ride after I won Canada's first Olympic gold medal, because most people didn't realize I was 38 years old. I was working full time, and then I was racing against competitors half my age. So that in itself, I didn't think it was quite the story, but a lot of people, for some reason, I don't know, I think it was the number 38. A lot of people resonated with it. Some people were shocked by it because they just weren't aware of my background and my story and just the trials, the tribulations, everything that went on and just transpired. And the joke was, well, there are so many to tell, so many stories I could share, I could write a book. So that's what we did. And then it wasn't just me writing the book. I had been compiling journals, 18 years of training journals,
Oh,
training
wow.
diaries. And that was my portion. That was my contribution. But I think it takes a special person to connect and really get inside of your head, your mind, to understand the nuances in cycling, because my bicycle had only one gear and no brakes. And that was another thing that a lot of people didn't know. What do you mean you don't have any brakes? How do you stop, right? Most bikes have brakes, they have 18, 20 gears, that sort of thing. Carl Wilberg was a friend of mine. He was also a friend of my coach. So there was a really great connection there. He was a writer. He still is a writer. And he said, I would love to sit down and talk with you. And that's where it started. So he understood the nuances of, I didn't have to explain what it's like to motor pace behind a car about an inch from the bumper that is not going to roll. So you don't want to bump into the bumper. You're looking through the windshield, seeing if there's potholes.
We lost your sound just for a
There we
second.
go.
Yeah. And again.
Turned off.
Okay, I'm going to tell the story with my hands up here. So I don't know what's going on.
You're
Gremlins,
good.
gremlins.
Yeah. So part of the thing is with explaining, like motor pacing, I'm looking through the windshield, I'm an inch behind the bumper, looking for obstacles, and you have to stay on the bumper to get the biggest draft. It was easy to talk with Carl because he knew the lingo. And then the other cool part about Carl is that he came up and he invented the Cyclops, the cyclist's linguistics, its own dictionary. So every chapter in the book has its own definitions. And he took the real definitions, but then he also took the definitions that I was encountering and creating. And we also talked about throughout the story, you'll hear a bit of a play on words about a dragon and monsters. And really, that is about the paradigms. Paradigms are our habits, there are beliefs, they are our behaviors of why we do what we do. Most people were not aware of why we do half of the things we do, or even three-quarters of the things that we do. And as I've learned in my coaching and mentorship and training, is just how rooted the paradigm is. So the play on word is I'm a dragon slayer. So kids, teens, adults, I think we all can relate to it because there's a wall and sometimes it's the terror or the fear. But if you have a dragon, you have a picture of it and it's easier to go, now what do I do? Do I let it eat me or do I eat it? Do I slay it or move it out of the way? And it was so interesting being interviewed, interrogated, and then cross-examined by Carl because he's a lawyer, right? It's like I wasn't interviewed first, I was interrogated, then I was cross-examined, and then I was interviewed. But it was so interesting because I was also trying to win the world championships right after the Olympics. But the cycling governing body, they moved the cycling season 4 months earlier, so there was no break. So picture this, you win an Olympic gold medal, 400 people meet you at the airport the night you come home. You're not allowed to stay in your home because who knows who's going to show up at my house. Somebody flew my sister, my two little nephews in. We stayed at the Sutton Place Hotel. Lots of interviews, training, travel, World Cups. And I'm also sharing my story 3 times a week for about 2 or 3 hours with Carl. So lots of really
Wow.
great stuff came out of it. And it's just, why did I share the story? Well, because nobody probably wouldn't believe all the stories if they heard the story. So they seem to be more believable when they're in print. Plus, it's a bit of a legacy. And then when Key Porter went bankrupt, we had done 2 editions, Canadian bestseller. And then people keep asking me, how do I get a copy of your book? And I'm like, I don't know, Amazon, eBay, um, friend, go to the library. And I just kept being asked. And then about 8 weeks before the 20th anniversary this year, I got it in my head going, well, why don't I publish it again? So I sourced out with an incredible lady and just realized how expensive it was. I really didn't want to have, truth be told, 5,000 books in my basement again. And then, you know what? Amazon makes it super easy worldwide for everybody to be able to access it, to get a copy. And then I'm also in the process now of doing the ebook. People love, reading on their phones. And then my goal also is by Christmas to have the audio version. So
Wow.
that's the goal. That's been part of the journey. And, I can take the books whenever I'm speaking or doing workshops, doing different events, or point them towards the Amazon website there and the page.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Wow. Thanks for sharing. And I chuckle because I loved the definitions at the beginning of each chapter, and I could hear you in them. So that's very cool as someone who's known you over the years to actually hear your personality in the book. It
thank
was
you.
well done. Well done.
Thank you.
So you quote Steve McQueen, actor, saying, "Racing is life, everything else is waiting." Your personal journey demonstrates that, particularly between 1997 and 2004. For those who haven't read your book, can you quickly touch on some of those memories when you questioned your sanity and actually stepped away and came back?
Oh, I love the
Crazy,
word.
tenacious.
Yeah. No, just how you're positioning it, question my sanity. I never ever thought about that before. I would just say I was a legal secretary with a cycling obsession, and I thought cycling, I ate cycling, everything was about cycling. And it's funny because when you get that focus, that tunnel vision, it truly takes over. That racing is everything. And for me, it was an outlet of energy expenditure, is what I call it, because I do have a lot of energy and I probably have maybe an abundance, but too much sometimes. And the best part about cycling is that literally what you put in is what you get out. So if I'm feeling great, I could really crank it and open it up and, take the guys along and they think they're sitting on my wheel and then bang, you just open this gap and then they're off the back. So a lot of fun, a lot of tactics, so much learning. But then also too, Linda, is getting to the point where I was living off of a shoestring budget, which was $16,000 gross a year. So it probably equated to 12,
Wow.
13,000 a year. And racing and traveling and equipment is expensive. And a couple times I literally ran out of money. And it's like credit cards maxed. I'm owing friends some money. And it's just, I can't do it. I took traveling with the national team over working. Sure, we'll save you your job. I was gone a little longer. You come back and it's, well, we gave it to the guy who filled your position. Oh, okay. So what do? You go to plan B, you go to plan C, and my gosh, I've been hurt. I've, broken my collarbone in Cuba, was wrapped up in one-ply toilet paper. You do things that you'd never think about. You hope it never happens. Trying to play catch up, pushing too much big gear on a bike that has one gear, no brakes. You should be spinning, turning a little bit more, and that takes a toll on the body. And it doesn't matter at what age, if you overdo it and you're not on that progression of going up and up a little bit and you're skipping those rungs, Mother Nature will slow you down and the body tells a story. So, well, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of stories, but that feeling of not being done, like I didn't accomplish the goal of going to the Olympics until 2000 when I moved to Edmonton. I got here August 31st, 1999. September 15th was opening ceremonies in Sydney, Australia. September 16th, day one, evening, my event lasted 36 seconds. And I said, I want to do it again in 4 years, but I want to win gold. So until that point, I didn't have that check mark. I didn't have that, yes, I'm okay, I'm done, been there, done that. It was like, okay, I'm here, but I'm not here to participate. I want to win. And I didn't win in 2000. I got 13th place, but I thought I had won a gold medal. And I said, no, the focus over the next 4 years is to win gold in the sprints. And I will also compete in the standing 500-meter, 2 laps around the track in 4 years. So that was the vision, that was the journey, and everything was based upon it.
Tenacious, courageous, just plain stubborn, I think. Yeah,
Yep.
good for you.
And very
Good for
persistent. I
you.
will add the P word, very persistent. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, but the thing is, we all think in pictures, whether we realize it or not. Children are really good at it. And, Patty, I see you shaking your head, right? And Barb, great to see you here. Is like, you know what I'm talking about. Kids, their imagination is massive. It's everything. We kind of have to bring them down and we bring them onto and into our world too much that we forget about the imagination, so that when we're older, our imagination is either petrified, Zippo, or almost nil, and we have to rebuild that again. But when we think in pictures, that gives us something that we can connect to with our heart. that goes, oh, maybe this is possible. And if your heart keeps talking to you, oh my gosh, that's like green light, go. Figure it out, take the first step and go for it.
That resonates with me. I still dream of walking without a stick, right? And
Yes.
I will. I'm not done. So I do understand.
Yeah.
So you also speak a lot about your family values of being positive, never giving up, and you reference the competitive monster inside. How have those values and that monster supported your success or sabotaged your success over the years?
Well, I was really tested in 2002 Commonwealth Games. I was slotted to win two Commonwealth Games gold medals, and I didn't. I won a bronze and I won a silver. In the match sprint event, which is my forte, my best event, I was really challenged against Anna Mears's older sister, Carrie. So Anna Mears, I would meet at the Olympics in 2004 in the semifinals. She was the number one woman in the world. Her and her sister were the dynamic duo from Australia. Like I met Anna when she was 14, and her sister was a couple years older and willing to do whatever it took to literally potentially take you out and crash you to win. And she had won the first race. They restarted us on the second race because like she was whipping us and me, the other riders as well, up and down the track, like dangerously. I was about to, after a couple of restarts, I was going to slam down into her and match her for what was going on. And the gun went off, signaling like, stop, done. And I couldn't figure it out, but it was just before I was going to hit her. So nothing happened. And what I found out was a guy was hanging over the rails watching us, and his watch fell off. And a bicycle with one gear, no brakes, if you have something that comes into your way, it has the possibility of jamming your wheels or your gears, and you would go head over tea kettle. So an official saw it, stopped the race, and I went, that's the signal of, you know what? I'm not willing to win at any cost. So the values of safety, integrity, respect are super huge because look, being 37, 38 years old at the time, I still have a day job. Some of these kids don't, right? If I work, I get paid. If I don't work, I don't get paid. I also want to have fun afterwards too. And I just wasn't willing to, dump and bump my competitors. Yeah, sure, I'll squeeze them out a little bit, muscle my way because I was one of the biggest women on the planet. But winning at whatever cost, that's not even a question. It's not. If you want it that bad, go ahead. Go ahead. And that's not one of them. So the other value, though, that played a lot of fun was over the years is my coach and his brother were number one and number two in Canada. They were also my training partners. Lars would come out probably about half the time, and Steen was my coach. And if I could beat them, that would put me one of the fastest women in the world. So my goal wasn't to outpower them, it was to outsmart them. So again, bringing the physicalness of, the game of cat and mouse on the track, but also bringing the mindset of if I'm not as strong as you, what can I do to outsmart you? And when we were in Higher France on our last training camp, like before I left for the Olympics, it was Steen and I. His wife came along. She brought the balance between the two of us. We did some fun stuff. We're right on the coast. We're in France. I mean, it's just lovely, right? But we sparred. He said, "Okay, we're doing this just like the Olympics. We're going to do it your way, and then we're going to do it my way." He said, and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." So the first time we did it, we like everything was identical to how I would walk in and compete at the Olympics. Um, he beat me hands down. There was no contest. And he goes, "You were sleeping." He said, "Now we're going to do it my way." He said, "We're going to do this, this, and this." And I went, "Okay, you're on." So I played by his rules, and it was really cool because I got a different insight and I got another perspective of what was possible. There was no contest when we finished. I was the one that crossed the finish line first. And that was the really, really cool part. It was like, and all he did was give me the thumbs up. And I thought, okay, I guess I'm ready. So off we went. And yeah, off to Athens I went. And then he and his wife did a day trip. And then back to Edmonton they went. And I was coached by cell phone on numerous trips. So part of it, Linda, and everybody here on the call, is it's about doing whatever it takes. Are you willing to put all your eggs in the basket when the time comes? And are you willing to do whatever legally it takes to go after your dream?
Mhm.
And I was prepared to do whatever it took.
Mhm. Love it.
Amazing.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And Laura, I'll turn this over to you.
Sure. Oh my gosh, so many things that I have going on in my mind, Lori-Ann, as you're talking about this. I can see why you're doing coaching. Because everything that you described from your Olympic experience is such a transferable experience into supporting people to become the very best and to face their fear. And I can't even imagine what that fear would have been like for you on the track. I have so many questions, but I do have some specific questions that I want to ask. So faith is a gift, as we all know. Sometimes faith is what holds us together when we're seeking something that may seem impossible to some other people, right? You've lived that. You've lived that. And sometimes it comes in the shape of a person. You just talked about some people in your life that really lifted you up. And sometimes it's an angel. Sometimes it's someone that you weren't expecting, someone that enters your life, or someone perhaps in your past. So can you tell us more about how that's played out in your life and in your career and in your success?
That's a loaded question. I love it. I think we realize that there's people we meet along the way. I love the poem, A Reason, a Season, and a Lifetime. Sometimes we meet people just for a certain reason. We meet people for a certain time frame, which is a season or two. And then others we meet for a long, long time. Laura, I got to meet you. I picked Laura. I connected with her and then realized we had a connection with her daughter that I didn't even put two and two together. Linda, I was thinking or trying to think how long we've known each other, and it's been a long, long time. Plus, there was a connection with my massage therapist here in Edmonton that her mom, I think, Ruby knows you and Lauren, and I met them at a party. It was like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness. So one degree of separation. And there's times when we're present with what we're doing and who we're with that makes all the difference in the world. And I always think of the proverb, it's an African one that says, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with others. Now, I was hell-bent and I was on a mission of going fast. So there was a limited amount of people in my community, my group, that I held close. I've learned since winning gold, it's about the people. It's not about going fast. Fast is the bonus, but it's about who's around you. And I think when you talk about Angel, Laura, I'm remembering Brenda Miller. In 2002, Brenda and I, we trained at the same gym, it's now the World Health Center Club, but it was called Center Club downtown. And it was literally across the street from work, which was really convenient. I'd go work out, be there at 5:15, be showered and out of there by 7:30, at my desk by 7:40, woof down breakfast, 8 o'clock, ready to work, right? I had been granted to go to Sydney, Australia for the final World Cup because the World Cups were the qualifiers to get to the World Championship that year. And then part of the World Championship was to get to the Commonwealth Games. So there's a system and a process. I didn't have enough points with the World Cups I had already done and I needed to do one more. My federation said, you can go to Australia, no problem. Oh, thank you. Normally they take care of all expenses. There was one catch. You can pay for it as well. And you have to bring somebody with you, because I was the only Canadian at that World Cup. So I needed a holder to take me up to the start line. I had to have somebody throw me for one of my events. So I asked my physiotherapist from 1997, Rochelle, do you want to come to Australia with me? All expenses paid? I don't really have a whole lot of money, but I need a holder and I need a manager. Could you be you? And she says, yeah, I'd love to. She goes, what do I have to do? I said, all you have to do is hold me up. But I didn't tell her she also had to slingshot throw me for a different event. But she learned, we figured it out. I had to raise $6,000 in 2 weeks. $6,000 in 2 weeks. And I thought, holy Godfrey, where am I going to come up with the money? And I happened to mention this to Brenda at the gym, because she had the abs, she had the arms, I had the legs. We were always scoping each other out. And she got the ball rolling. My boots were outside of my locker, and there was a piece of paper inside of my boot, but it wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a check for $500. And she rallied everybody that she knew. I'm getting goosebumps, that she knew, to help me raise the $6,000. And I got to Australia. Rochelle, we did amazing things. First time a woman manager had taken another female athlete. I came home with 2 bronze medals, qualified for world championships, qualified for Commonwealth Games, and it went from there. The interesting part was, all throughout this time frame, and even at the Commonwealth Games, man, I was sick to my stomach and I thought I had the flu. That's what the medical staff told me, but it wasn't the flu. It ended up being a ruptured appendix, and it was the start of it brewing, going, oh, we're not so happy with you. I made it through Commonwealth Games, made it through Pan American Championships in Quito, Ecuador. When I came back from the Commonwealth Games, Brenda had been killed in a tragic cycling accident with 9 other women. And that was, I guess, the analogy, the picture of an angel, right? We don't know how much time we have. We don't know the people that will open doors for us, help us along the way. And the faith and the belief that we have in ourselves will move mountains. You will move mountains. If you don't have faith, that's when the confidence, it tanks. And even though I haven't had the greatest relationship with my federation, Brenda gave me that inspiration, that motivation of, yeah, you could do it. And sometimes it's having one person in our back pocket that says, you can do it, right? Barb, you can do it. Stacy, you can do it. Patty, you can do it. Farah, you can do it. Laura, you can do it. Linda, you can do it. It knows no age. You're either facing fear or you're going on faith. And both of them, you cannot see, but you can feel. One is great and one is not so great. The more faith you have, belief comes with it, your confidence comes with it, and it will grow. And it will test you when you come up with things you're afraid of, or when somebody says no, or you're just going, I have no idea why. I don't want to go down that road. And people make all the difference in the world, right? I couldn't have done it without Brenda. I couldn't have done it without my coach. I couldn't have done it without everybody cheering here at home. I have maple leafs on my shoulders on both sides of my skin suit, and on my copy of the book, you can see it, right?
Yeah.
And even though I was the only Canadian, male or female, at the Olympics, every time I looked over my shoulder, I saw the maple leafs and I went, I'm not alone. Because we do this crazy thing. We ride forward and we look backwards over our shoulder. Like, how crazy is that? It's really crazy, but it's really cool. And you have to practice it a lot. And it was that feeling of, yes, physically, I am here solo. but I have all of Canada and everyone with me who's been from the start, new people, people I don't even know, and who I haven't met yet.
Amazing.
And
Yeah.
that's the part. People are going to be obvious. Sometimes you'll get an inkling, a feeling, your intuition, your gut, but it's really intuition will tell you what the next step is to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
that's the
thank you
cool
for
part.
sharing that story. That's just heartbreaking for your,
It is. Oh, and there's one more story that I'd like to
yeah,
share.
absolutely.
You know, I think we may have to do like another session here if you guys, because I'm like going half an hour. How is it that the time's flying by? So I got to meet after Brenda was killed, and things settled down. I was starting to recover from a ruptured appendix that imploded here in Edmonton. I was operated on. I got to know Brenda's husband, Jack, really well, and he gave me her gold medal from the U of A. She was the number one student in pharmacy. He got it encased in a special chain, and I wore it with me like all the time. Um, and it was whenever I had those doubts, because let me tell you, over the next 2 years, up and down, there was a lot of doubts, right? There was a lot of adversity, there was a lot of challenges, obstacles. I would just grab Brenda's medal, and it would be like the grounding factor. Just before I went on the podium to receive my gold medal, I pulled out Brenda's medal, and an official came by. He says, "Oh, no, 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 put that away. You can't have that." And I'm like, "Oh, no, but this is Anna Mears." She's like 20 years old. She goes, "Put it away. When you get on the podium, pull it out because he's not going to come and tell you to put it back in." And if you watch the video replay, you can go on my YouTube channel and just, Google the video presented by, okay, Prince Albert of Monaco. He presented me with the medal. And I'm like, cool. And then I brought out Brenda, and it's right there. And it's like, oh my gosh, like there was no way I wasn't going to bring her out. She was along for the ride because you can see it in the skin suit while I'm racing because there's this round medallion. And it was just one of those things. It's like, even though she's not here, I'm here. And I have the opportunity to do something, be in the moment and follow through. And man, sometimes we only get one opportunity, but sometimes we get a second chance, a second opportunity. And oh, you got to take those ones and you got to run with them.
Mhm, mhm.
What a
Yeah,
beautiful tribute to her. I am going to go back and watch that video because
Mhm.
that's a story
yeah,
that we need to share. I think it's so important on so many levels, so many
it
levels.
is. And last Thursday, I was part of the harvest luncheon with the food
Right.
bank here in Edmonton. And just I arrived and I was talking with the executive director, and I saw these two people out of the corner of my eye come by. So you know that I'm pretty good with looking forward and riding backwards, right? But I have eyes in the side and the back of my head. The two people wanting to speak, I thought was with Marjorie, were wanting to speak with me. It was Brenda's sister, Bonnie, and her husband. Mike volunteers at the food bank, and Bonnie had learned that I was going to be speaking, so they came out. I haven't seen them since 2005.
Wow.
So is that serendipity? I don't know, but my gosh, it was so amazing to see them. And I also shared the story about Brenda because people, sponsors, donors, volunteers, they can really change and impact your world beyond the physicalness of what you see, what's obvious.
Mhm. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Thank you for sharing all of that.
You're
Um,
welcome.
One more question, and we're going to open it up to the audience because I'm sure everybody has lots of questions. What is the connection for you, Lori-Ann, between Athena? And I'm
Oh
sure
boy.
everybody on the call knows who that, but she's the goddess of wisdom, justice, and the domestic arts,
Mhm.
and your gold medal, and the work you're currently doing.
Oh boy, how much time do we have?
No time. Oh, we're overtime.
Oh my gosh. Um, when I was writing, well, when I was answering Carl's questions, he figured out my archetype. And we all have an archetype, whether we realize it or not. My archetype is Athena, which is connected with Greece, Athens, right? That's her home. Um, Goddess of the arts, wisdom, doing what's right. It really spoke to my values. It just happened. Nike is the goddess of victory, and that is on the front of the medal. The Parthenon is one of the two places famous in Athens, the Parthenon, the Acropolis. There is on the very bottom the Olympic Stadium where the marathon, 26 miles, was run, probably on a track of 200 meters. I think going around on a track is pretty cool, but having to run 26 miles, maybe on 200 meters, I mean, that would just be crazy. What's that, 150 laps or so?
Mm.
Um, I think there's a lot of history with Athens. I think I have a connection. I believe in the values that I have very strongly. I believe about safety, integrity, respect. I believe about building and bringing community together. That darn bicycle keeps following me. It has always followed me, even from being a little kid. Grandpa used to put the bikes together in his retirement age. My sister and I, we would, take the little bicycles for a test ride because Grandpa was too big. And I always had a bike, and it for me is a place of joy. I love riding a bike. I'm 58 years old. I still ride 3 days a week. In November, we're starting the 18th winter of indoor cycling. We've pivoted since COVID online via Zoom. I have some of the guys bring their wives and their girlfriends to join us. I coach, I mentor, I guide, support, and challenge. And I say all five of those things because I think if you just coach, you're telling somebody to do something, but you're not letting them to think about it for themselves. So you'll probably be like me, having no idea what the heck to do in Manchester, getting on a payphone and calling your coach on the other side of the world. And you have 3 minutes maybe because that is all the coins that you have that you can pop into the old payphone. Mentorship, guiding, supporting, challenging is asking better questions, pulling out from you what you already know. So I'm teaching people how to think again, Olympic level, but where you're at. I have a new program I'm just launching on the 13th of November. It's once a week. We get together for an hour. We read 2 pages maximum of an article, but we study it. And I rip, shred, slice, and dice it in terms of some things we read, we just repeat, but we don't understand why. And I want people to understand better, deeper, create that awareness, but be able to apply why this is important, or why is this sitting funny? Why is it going, there's something here, but I don't know what it is or why it's resonating, good or bad, right? Um, Teaching, sharing, that's the best part. Sharing with others, right? Everybody has a dream. Everybody wants to do something, but a lot of people don't act on it. They prefer to be quiet or in the background. And I think it's important to bring out that joy and that happiness that's in you because you've got something none of us, the rest of us have. You've got something special. Linda and Laura, like, thank you for taking this idea and making it come to life. Farah, I'm sure you're thinking of something that you probably haven't spoken to anybody about, or maybe somebody close. Patty, I know you're connecting with something. I know it. And Barb, you as well. Like, I can see, like, Ironman, you've got it right behind you. You've done some events. You know the grit, the determination, falling down, getting back up. Stacy, I know you just went someplace from what I could see on the screen here of going, I wonder. I want to take that wonder and just bring it up and bring it out just a little bit more because your age is just a number on your driver's license.
Mm.
And children have it right of, I don't know if you've seen the movie If, Imaginary Friends. Oh, Ryan Reynolds. I love Ryan Reynolds, first off. The movie is so good and he is so crazy. I'm like, I want 5% of him. And it's just when we go out and play, we're on a whole other level and you start attracting your tribe and you find people and they find you. And my gosh, it's about going out and playing. Forget this work stuff. It's for the birds.
Yeah.
Go out and play. But you need a picture, a goal, big, medium, small, and then you need a plan. And, the cool part is your plan can fit on one of these. A post-it note. Because you know what? Go as far as you can see. Write it down. If you can only get to tomorrow, bravo. Kudos. And then when you get there, you'll receive the download. You'll get the idea of what's next, but you're never going to know the how. You'll never know the way, but you'll know one or two steps. That's what that's what I believe. That's what I feel and I believe.
Thank
And
you.
Thank
my
you.
mission
Thank
and
you.
my mission is to share this, is to get people sharing, talking, helping, because the one thing I've learned, competition, only one person can win. But if we're creative, everybody wins. And guess what happens? Your level goes up. And then you share with more people and your level goes up again. And what was it? The Finesse hair commercial? Well, they told two friends and then they told two friends. I want to do that again.
I think you've made some friends today. But if we don't open it up for questions, we're going to lose some friends.
Okay.
So I'm just going to frame this in that we're at 12:42. So we have like 3 minutes, but can you stay on the call a little longer, Lori-Ann?
Absolutely.
You're okay?
Absolutely.
So if whoever wants to stay on can stay on and ask their questions, I certainly can. I'm not sure about Laura's schedule. Yes, nodding yes. So we'll open it up for questions now. And just Stacy has her hand up right now.
Awesome.
Go ahead,
Lo
Stacy.
Lori-Ann, this is like so cool to talk to you today because I used to ride the elevator in the tower that you worked in. And I knew about your story then, and I knew that you worked in that tower. And when I would take the elevator with you, I always wanted to say, good job, or something like that. But I was too shy. I was 20 years younger too. So, but I just feel this is so like full circle for me because I knew everything that you were doing then. And your story, you recounted everything, what I remember it to be. I don't know how I knew this. You were in the news, and I'm just like, wow, good job. That's all I could ever think of when I was in the elevator with you. So thank you. My question to you is, has things changed when it comes to Olympic athletes today? Like you had to fundraise so much, but have things changed where there's more compensation given to athletes so that they don't have to worry about that financial burden as much? I'm curious about that.
I don't think so. I think the one bonus, but this is, 3 out of however many. If you medal, there is a bonus, but it's not guaranteed, and it's never a guarantee that you are going to medal, right? It is what it is. I truly think it's not a bad idea to work part-time. I would, if I had athletes, they were in my community, I would make them all work part-time. Because what do you do after sport? Most of these athletes, they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue how to connect with people. They don't know how to talk with people. They don't know what to do afterwards. And that's the truth of it, right? When you're working with people, you're learning about you. You're learning, what do I love? What do I not like? What do I want more of? What do I not want more of? And that's the really interesting part, because when we learn about ourselves, we can share so much more and learn about others. And sponsorship is pretty hard to come by. Sometimes it's easy. All depends on who you know. That makes a big difference. And sometimes it's just luck of the draw. It is what it is. So I don't think it's changed that much. I really don't. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Interesting. Great question. And Barb
Just
has
before,
her hand up.
yeah, and just before I pop over to Barb, thank you so much, Stacy, for your comments. What floor did you get off at, or where were you working?
17 or 18th floor.
So you were with Emery Jameson.
Yes. At that time, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Holy cow, small world.
no kidding. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. And what I would share with everybody, if you have that thought, follow it through. Even if it makes you feel really uncomfortable, your heart rate is beating at 180 or 200 beats a minute, those moments sometimes are enough, Stacy, that you send the good back to me. And sometimes in those moments, just you knowing that we were in the same elevator is like, holy cow, that's so cool, right? And you never know the impact your words can have on somebody, because outside I play the wickedest game of poker. Like, I truly do. You have no idea what's going on inside. And we don't. We have no idea of what's going on inside. But your words can flip what I'm going through or what I'm feeling at that moment, boom, to a higher frequency, a higher vibration of, that's exactly what I needed to hear.
It's very
So
sweet.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. And we will go to Barb, and then I need to ask our wrap-up question before we lose people. But Barb, go ahead.
A lot of great thoughts here, and I've been taking notes, Lori-Ann, and like Stacy, I sure maybe didn't know it as well as Stacy, but I knew your story and have been a big fan for a long time. Yeah, so I'm very glad to be here, and I am going to buy the book because I don't have it, and now I've got the time to read it, so I'm definitely going to do that. My question is about after achieving your Olympic dream, and which is so amazing, but it feels like, wow, that's such a huge life goal. And I'm trying to imagine that you needed to find something within you to take you beyond that, because there is life after the Olympics, and obviously you found it. But how did you do that?
Wow. Amazing question. And thank you for your comments beforehand. Oh, it's only 5 years ago that I figured out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I really don't want to grow up, but it's only 5 years ago that I found it by accident. And it's been a roller coaster up and down. I've done the crash and burn mentally and physically. What do you do for an encore after you land on the moon is, I want to talk to the astronauts. I want to talk to Chris Hadfield and ask him too, because it's really hard. I would go back and do something I didn't do. And what that is I didn't plan what my life would look like right after I crossed the finish line, because number one, I didn't want to jinx myself. I'm superstitious with a couple things, but I didn't want to jinx myself. And I realized that's a dragon. That's a paradigm right there. I've learned that from my family and who I've hung around with. And it's BS. It really is. When I'm working with my clients or talking to school kids or anybody, make 2 or 3 plans. The plan you know, the plan you dream about. And if everything else goes south or beyond your wildest dreams, well, that's 2 more plans. Write those plans out, because I can tell you this is your most important asset next to your mind. It's a writing instrument. It's not typing it out. It's writing it out because it connects with the heart. I didn't take time out after I crossed the finish line. I did what everybody said I should do, so I did it. And I was trying to win the world championships at the same time. But then I got to the point of, well, things weren't working out. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I was overloaded. I was getting burnt out because I didn't have a plan and I didn't have a goal, even a small goal of what I wanted, not what everybody else thought I wanted. I was doing that. And a lot of it was great. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't my master plan. And then I kept seeing this material. I don't know if you know of the late Bob Proctor. He was in the movie The Secret. I didn't realize he was Canadian. He was born and raised in Toronto. I grew up in Toronto. I thought he was an American. But then he said something when I was in the Canadian Navy, and I went, the Canadian Navy? You can't be in the Canadian Navy if you're an American. Like, that's not possible. So I Googled him. Everything he said, Barb, was exactly what I did to win my gold medal. It took me 18 years, trial and error, falling off my bike, crashing, burning, quitting, getting sponsors, getting no sponsors, like on a crazy, like you want to talk about a roller coaster. I have wanted to inspire and motivate everybody in this world to go after what they dream about. And I tried. It kind of worked, but it didn't. And then when I saw Bob's work, I went, why recreate the wheel? That's exactly what I did. Like, that's what I did by feeling and not knowing it. And I went, I want to teach this. And that's exactly what I'm doing is I teach the formula and system of how to do this. It applies to everything in life. Another Ironman, a triathlon, your work, family stuff, finances, your health, everything. It's not complicated. It's not complicated. We've just been taught a different playbook. And I've gone, why don't I feel like I belong? I truly haven't felt like I belong. Why do I have too much energy? I don't know what to do with it some days. Now I know what to do with it. But I had all these pieces of a puzzle except one, and I didn't have the lid. And it was because I didn't create the lid, the picture of what it was that I wanted to do. And you don't have to go massive. You can go small in whatever it is. I want to walk 15 minutes every day before work or at lunch or after work. I always say, what is it? Tornadoes and hurricanes, you're exempt. You're allowed to miss the day. But what is it that you want to do? And just take one little step. Does that help? Does that answer a bit?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lovely. And I think it's a great segue, Barb, into my question around what's next for Lori-Ann. What do you want people to know about what's next in your life right now?
That's a whole loaded question right there. Whatever you think about, whatever you dream about, start. And I call it the 3 L's. Do a little bit, lots of times, over a long period of time. And if you remember L for Lori-Ann, think of the 3 L's: a little bit, lots of times, and over a long period of time. You are guaranteed to win. Truly, seriously, that's the short Coles Note version. If you'd love to check out my website, it's loriannmuenzer.com. If you'd like to reach out, pop your email into the chat here and I can send you what's coming up on November 13th I'm calling it the Bamboo Study Circle. Bamboo, you don't see anything in the first year. In the second year, you really don't see so much as it starts to grow. And then all of a sudden it starts to poke a little shoot up. The third year, it grows so fast. And we're like bamboo. when we start something new, we don't see a lot of the return or what you're expecting. There's a lot of stuff going on under the surface. And then by consistently being consistent, all of a sudden it comes together. It comes together so fast. If you'd like to know more about the bamboo study circle, I can send you the information. If you'd like to hop on a goal call, you can just reach out through my website, loriannmuenzer.com. Connect. One idea changed my life, and one idea can change yours. So I think that's where I'd love to leave it.
Thank you.
Conversation can change everything.
I believe that, and maybe that's why I was so excited about this call. I mean, my whole life is about igniting conversations that matter, and I think we've done that today. You have been a gracious, wonderful host. Thank you. So I believe you've ignited more than one bit of energy in many people today. Carol had to leave the call early, but she commented on how wonderful it was to be on the call. Um,
Thank you.
so I think we will share this PowerPoint, and it has all of the contact information on for Lori-Ann, a little bit about the bio, the website address, all of that. So you'll have it at your fingertips. We'll also share the recording if you want to listen to a little bit as well. I see Lori-Ann's phone number is now in the chat. Reach out, have the conversation. Yeah. It's just a delight to be here with you today. So thank you. And for those who have joined us, we have some newcomers today. If this is your first time, we invite you to check out the website, see what comes next. We try to interview 2 authors a month. It is our passion. It is what gets us both up in the morning. Laura shares that with me every step of the way. And if you learn through conversation, we also host our Leadership Learning Labs, which is an old-fashioned book club for an internal team. So you choose the book, we'll host the conversation, and learning guaranteed. So happy Halloween to all, and we invite you to start each day with a hopeful heart, a curious spirit, and the courage of a lion. Thank you for all joining us. Thank you, Lori-Ann. And we're now signing off for Authors Speak series with Lori-Ann Muenzer, author of One Gear, No Brakes. I still want to know how to stop. Enjoy. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you,
Take
everybody.
care. Thank you.